protecting local businesses in this area? What's your number one thing that keeps you up at night?
So I think, just like Robert was saying, every company, every industry is different, and Jeff, you mentioned this as well. Everyone has different vulnerabilities, different assets that they're trying to protect. So I think it really depends. I think for a lot of the small businesses who don't have these big compliance measures on them, you really have to think about what you're trying to protect. So let's say you have a little shop downtown and you know, maybe you sell clothing. You probably set your alarm before you leave and lock the door and make sure no one's gonna break into your business when you're not there, right? But what if your data was breached and all of your customers' credit card information was stolen? You know, which of those things do you care about more, the clothing in the store or your customers' credit card information? So I think businesses really have to ask themselves those questions of, you know, what is critical in my organization? What do I really care about? What would ruin my reputation? What could really damage my company? And really try to protect those things. In these threat briefs that we're talking about, they're not all classified. There's a lot of ones that you can go out and check out for yourself. CISA's doing a really good job sharing information openly with industry, from manufacturing to small business. They have actually a small business corner on the NIST website with tons of great information. So I think just proactively seeking out like which threats are affecting your organization. Ransomware is really big in almost all types of businesses. That's what happened with the Colonial Pipeline, and they ended up paying the ransom. So that's kind of scary, right? One of those big infrastructure companies ended up kind of bending to the will of an international non-state actor. So it really depends on the industry, but there's a lot of common themes as well.
And just a quick plug, because Matt's in the room, DHS's old friend Matt Skinner works there. They're a phenomenal source of information. Get on their mailing list. They just put some stuff out recently about operational technology and new threat actors and stuff going on, so it's a great resource for you on that. And Robert, that kind of leads into this question. If you don't have a cybersecurity program in place now, where do you start? How do you, for the folk out there that, once again, they sell clothes. I had a friend of mine, Mark, he has a job where he counts trees, right? So if you're in that type of a business, where do you start?
I think at the end of the day, you just need to start. You know, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, you don't need a steak in one bite. You know, you take multiple bites. You need to just start somewhere and start, you know, taking a look at, you know, what you need to do. I think that the areas where you really need to start from the get-go, I was talking to your IT manager, you know, earlier today, and the question I asked him was, so how many people in the organization have global domain admin rights or have administrative rights to their PCs? I think as small businesses, it's not uncommon, you know, for folks to have administrative rights to their machines because I just need to get stuff done, so on and so forth. I've got scar after scar in my back from going through and taking administrative rights away from people. The best was when I took administrative rights away from my mom and dad on their PC, because you know, you're an IT guy. Naturally, what you do is you support mom and dad's IT needs at home, right? That's great. My dad's calling me, Robert, something's wrong. My computer's really slow again. Dad, you have malware on your machine again. If you would stop clicking on links, then maybe things would be a little bit better. So, you know, through that process, I did that. I locked things down a little bit, and I think that that's one of the areas you really need to start out. You need to look at what it's going to take to deal with, and I would suggest a ransomware attack. Start from that. Start creating your plan. In order to create your plan, there's so many resources I wrote down here. One of them is if you go to cisa.gov/shields-up. The CISA webpage has a ton of information, and they've got resources out there of how to get started with the program. Because I mean, you know, to be quite honest, to pay for, you know, a cybersecurity person on your staff as a small business, it's a very large expense.
But worth it.
Without a doubt, definitely worth it, yeah, especially one of us. That would be right. But no, it is a big expense, but there's a lot that you can do internally, and you can learn about it through the process. Start with some policies and some plans, and then once you have your policies in place, go through and do an assessment, do a couple tabletop exercises, and start with, okay, here we are. we got hit with ransomware, what do we do next? And know how to respond. There's a couple simple things that you can do inside that program, just from a security control perspective. You go through, and this isn't uncommon, as we talked about global domain admin rights. A lot of times in an IT shop, they'll have one administrative password that goes to every single machine in the organization. So, but once you crack that one password, now you've infected every single machine in the organization. So, a couple simple things like that you can start with, but start out with putting a policy together and go ahead and put your cyber incident response plan. Again, go out to CISA's webpage, DHS's webpage, take a look. There's plenty of resources out there that you can use to begin that process. And then, you know, link up with me, you know, find me on LinkedIn or whatever. I'm always willing, you know, God gave me some talents and abilities to work within this realm, and I'm always willing to, you know, help people out and kind of put them in the right direction and be able to get them on track with the abilities He's given me. So.
And the interesting part